that when they speak of Pete in this Daystar story, they're speaking of you, Joshua Brown. So where are you, Josh? Why haven't you spoken? Why haven't you cleared your name? Why are you hiding? Why are you cowering? What is wrong with you, Jonathan Lamb?
We've got something intense to talk about. A video that's been blowing up all over social media. You've probably seen it. It's this guy, James Inglis, founder of Hands of the King, who's calling out Pete and even referring to him as Josh Brown, a name tied to some serious allegations making headlines. But here's the real question. Why is James Inglis speaking out so boldly now? Why is he directly addressing Pete, publicly naming Joshua Brown, and demanding answers? What makes him think Jonathan Lamb is protecting Pete instead of fighting for justice? If you've been following the Daystar scandal, you know there's a lot of drama involving Jonathan and Susie Lamb, who accused Daystar's leadership of covering up SA involving their daughter. And now, with James Inglis stepping into the spotlight and directly challenging them, things just got a whole lot more complicated. So, what's going on here? Why hasn't Pete, or Joshua Brown, spoken out? Why does Jonathan Lamb seem hesitant to confront this head-on? In this video, we're going to break down what's happening, what James said, and why this story is spiraling into a major controversy. Firstly, James Inglis brings up a key point that's been on everyone's mind. If multiple news stories are allegedly pointing fingers at Pete, claiming he's actually Josh Brown, then why hasn't he come forward to clear his name? I mean, if you were innocent, wouldn't you want to set the record straight and shut down all these rumors once and for all? His silence is what's making people more suspicious. Inglis goes even further, questioning why someone who's being accused of something so serious wouldn't be fighting to defend himself publicly. It's like, if you've done nothing wrong, what's stopping you from speaking up?
Today I want to speak directly to Joshua Brown of Daystar. Joshua Brown, it has been reported on multiple social media sites by numerous accounts that you are in fact Pete. As a father, watching Jonathan Lamb and Julie Royce and other advocates allege abuse against someone while using a false name has given me pause. As a father, I know for certain that there's a greater likelihood that I would surprise, kill, and vanish had someone molested my daughter than wait years, work through social media, Christian tabloid publications, provide the cover of a false name, Pete, allow you to still breathe. So I have questions. But what really bothers me is that you know, that I know, that everyone knows, that when they speak of Pete in this Daystar story, they're speaking of you, Joshua Brown. So where are you, Josh? Why haven't you spoken? Why haven't you cleared your name? Why are you hiding? Why are you cowering? Joshua Brown, it is time for you to account. All the additional stories surrounding this could begin to go away if you would just stand up and tell the truth. Either you are a pedophile or these allegations are completely false. But standing in silence, hiding in silence, cowering and shrinking away from this situation only goes to further paint you as guilty.
So, the probable reason why Pete, or allegedly Josh Brown, is silent might be a combination of legal strategy, fear of backlash, and the lack of concrete evidence to defend himself. He could be following legal advice, knowing that any public statement might escalate the situation or bring more scrutiny. From a legal standpoint, even if everyone believes he is guilty, accusations alone aren't enough. Solid evidence is required to prove guilt in court. Jonathan and Susie Lamb have shared their account of what allegedly happened with their daughter, but legally, these remain just stories unless supported by irrefutable evidence. Without that proof, any attempt to publicly name Josh Brown as Pete could backfire, opening up the Lambs to defamation lawsuits that could cost them millions. And you know that Joni Lamb is heavily involved in this too, allegedly working behind the scenes to protect Pete and control the narrative, which adds another layer of complexity to the whole situation. Pete's silence could very well be part of a larger strategy orchestrated by Joni to avoid any further legal and public fallout.
Jonathan Lamb, what are you doing? How are you continuing to provide cover for a man that you've alleged your daughter? How is it that you can look yourself in the mirror each day knowing that this situation that you've completely mishandled has blown up into a worldwide scandal on social media? That when we should be talking about getting a pedophile off the streets and protecting the other children that could be in that pedophile's midst, what we're talking about is who paid for a honeymoon and why did daddy give the ministry to mommy instead of me? What is wrong with you? Who is advising you? Why are you allowing people on YouTube to name Joshua Brown when you yourself continue to provide cover for the man you're alleging molested your daughter? What is wrong with you, Jonathan Lamb?
To truly understand why Jonathan and Susie Lamb, or anyone else involved, are hesitant to directly allegedly name Josh Brown as Pete, we need to rewind and look closely at the incident that set everything off. It all started during a family retreat, a time meant for bonding and relaxation. At one point, Jonathan and Susie's young daughter went upstairs to change into her swimsuit. According to the Lambs, Pete, who many now allegedly believe to be Josh Brown, followed her upstairs, which immediately raised a red flag for Susie. Feeling uneasy about the situation, she quickly alerted Jonathan, who rushed to the room. When he arrived, he found his daughter undressed and Pete standing there, reportedly holding a 1-year-old child in his arms. Jonathan confronted Pete on the spot, and though nothing inappropriate had visibly happened, the entire situation seemed off. Pete apologized, claiming he didn't realize the girl was changing. However, for Susie and Jonathan, this moment wasn't just awkward, it was alarming. They believed that while Pete may not have acted physically, his intentions were questionable. But here's where things get tricky. No solid evidence of abuse has ever surfaced. Yes, there was suspicion. Yes, the whole scenario felt wrong to Jonathan and Susie, but legally speaking, suspicion alone doesn't hold up in court. Without clear evidence, something undeniable, publicly accusing Josh Brown as Pete puts Jonathan and Susie in a precarious position. Here's why. If they outright name Josh Brown without undeniable proof, and if a court later rules that Pete is innocent, Josh Brown could turn around and sue them for defamation. And we're not talking about a small lawsuit here. We're talking about millions of dollars in damages. Accusations like these, when unproven, can destroy reputations, and the legal system doesn't take that lightly. One false move, and the Lamb family could find themselves in a devastating legal and financial battle. So, this legal landmine is likely why Jonathan and Susie have been cautious. While they feel strongly about what happened, they know they're walking a fine line between seeking justice and protecting themselves from a lawsuit that could ruin their lives. It's a tense, complicated situation, one where the lack of solid evidence forces them into a tough position. This brings us back to James Inglis's frustration. He's demanding answers, calling out both Josh Brown and the Lambs for their silence, but the truth is, without hard evidence, stepping forward and naming Josh Brown could do more harm than good for Jonathan and Susie. Let's take a moment to reflect on what truly matters: justice for Jonathan and Susie Lamb's daughter, an innocent child caught in the middle of a storm. No child should have to suffer in silence, and we are called to stand up for those who are vulnerable. In moments like these, we're reminded of the words from Psalm 82, verse 3. Defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. This verse is a powerful reminder that seeking justice and protecting those who cannot defend themselves is not just a moral duty. It's a spiritual calling. The road to justice isn't easy. With legal battles, powerful figures, and the potential for voices to be suppressed, it's hard not to feel like the odds are stacked against the truth. Joni Lamb's influence and wealth may complicate things further, but in the end, only solid, undeniable evidence can truly help Jonathan and Susie get the justice their daughter deserves. Even if the legal battle is won, the scars remain, and the future of Daystar looks uncertain. But this isn't just about a network. It's about doing what's right for a child, for a family, and for all who are watching this unfold, hoping that truth will triumph over power.